R3 comma R1, where R3 is pointing to the memory location. So it's not a register addressing, it is memory addressing, right? And also I told you that instruction fetch phase is common for all the instructions. Only the execution phase will be different for different instructions. Okay, fetch phase, still you load the instruction in the instruction register and it gets decoded. The function, the sequence, everything is the same. Okay. Now, how the execution phase changes from instruction to instruction, that is what we are going to see in different control sequence. For example, here if you see, it depends on it's the addition instruction, and the data is also required from the memory, right? If it is not required from the memory, we have seen how the control sequence changes during the execution phase in the previous slide. Now, if it is depending on the memory, we also discussed how the same control sequence changes, right, in the execution phase. So this is for normal arithmetic or logical operations, right? Only thing is which function you enable or which operation you perform will be changing, right? Other than that, if any register between any two registers are from the memory, now you have clear idea of how it proceeds. Okay. Now change from this sequence, whatever we have discussed till now, the change from these sequences will happen when for another category of instructions, that is whenever you require a change in the program counter value that's branching out to some other location. That branching out can happen for different instructions, like it can be a jump or call or reset. So for different branch out, the program counter value needs to be changed according to the given instruction. So in that case, we discuss the overall flow for how the execution phase signals changes and in what sequence when it is a branch instruction. Okay, that is what we are going to discuss next. So the basic behind all this is, if you know these informations, any instruction given, you should be able to write down the control sequence for the same. That is the concept behind selecting these set of instructions. Okay, so once you are familiar with these things, after that any instruction given, you are equipped to come up with the control sequence on your own, right? So here a branching instruction, and in branching, sometimes it may be a conditional branching, sometimes it will be a without any condition. Right, when it's without any condition, it can be simple jump, skip, or call or reset. When it's with condition, the same jump may come with conditions like if carry is set, you jump, or if carry is reset, you jump, or if sign bit is set, you call, if sign bit is not set, then call, like that. Conditions can be different based on the set of flags provided by the chosen controller or processor. The set of conditions you get will also be different. Okay. So this is for branching, where the first 3 clock cycle, it's the same, right? It is not going to change at all because it's simply instruction fetch. After fetching the instruction only, you will realize that it's simply a branching instruction, right? Where from this location, it says that like jump L1 or go to L1, like that. So L1 will be a label in some place in your program. Okay, so when you come across with for example if you have I write here, for example, if I'm having L1 at this place, right, and I'm having go to instruction here. You guys are exposed to go to instruction or branch or jump? What do you know? Anyone respond, please? Anyone respond? What instruction you know? You learned to just branch, go to or jump. In ARM, you might have come across with instruction B, branch.
Branch.
Okay. So instead of this go to, it may be sometimes B, branch, right, to this label L1. Okay. And sometimes this will be with condition, right? Branch if sign bit is set or branch if carry is set. Like that the condition may be there. Okay. So when this instruction gets stored in the program memory, right, the label L1 will be replaced with the address where it can locate this label L1 wherever you have mentioned in the program. Okay. So now when you get the instruction, your instruction will be having for any operation, it's the duty of the engineer to pack in what operation needs to be done, where it can find the operands for its function, that is the source, and where is the destination. In addition to that, is there any condition, and if it is some branch instruction where it's supposed to branch out. All these information needs to be packed in one instruction. Okay. And mostly now the processors which use effective set mostly uses the one word instruction, or you call it as an orthogonal instruction set, right? That means with a single word with single instruction, with single word you are giving as instruction, all the data required for completing that execution should be packed in. Okay. So naturally when you take the branch instruction, in your instruction register there will be the information also to which location it's supposed to jump or branch. Okay. So now the first 3 clock cycles are common, right, where we take the address from the program counter, load it in the memory address register, and then we increment the program counter, and the updated value gets stored in program counter as well as in the Y register. And then we wait till the memory function gets complete. Once memory function is complete, the instruction which is loaded in the memory data register gets latched to the instruction register. Okay. Now after this, to branch, that means branch here will happen. Branches, instead of executing your next instruction, whatever comes here, for example, if it's some add operation, right, you will have a set of instructions followed, right? Instead of following all these instructions in sequence, it is supposed to come to this instruction. For example, I state that this is the N1 instruction. Okay, when you say jump or branch or go to, it's supposed to directly come to that instruction N1 rather than executing this addition instruction. Okay, that is what is expected. So when will that happen? When we change the program counter value. By default, program counter will be pointing the next instruction, that is the addition here. Okay, but according to the instruction, it has to branch out to L1, right, and execute the instruction over here, which is the N1 instruction. And this will happen only when you change the program counter value. Okay. So can anyone tell me now during the fetch phase what operation should be carried out? The execution phase. Fetch phase is common for all the instructions. Now during the execution phase, what operation needs to be carried out? Any idea? Anybody? Just open up so that even if you will know whether what you are thinking is right or not. Anyone? We know that it's supposed to be branch instruction and go to some other location for fetching the next data, and for that the program counter value should be updated. So what will happen in the fourth clock cycle? Just pitch in whatever comes to your mind, even if it is wrong, no harm in it. You learn by refining your thought process, right? And when you answer naturally, you will have some thinking, right?
IR out, ma'am.
IR out. Why you feel that it is required, Aditya?
The current instruction we have to change.
Okay.
So
why it comes to your mind that it should be IR? Actually, you are right. But can you say why you think that it should be IR should be activated here? Now when in the initial discussion I told you that in an instruction we have to pack in all the information required for completing that execution, right? If it is add, you should specify the sources, minimum 2 operand required, so sources, destination, what operation it is. Same way in case of branch, you say what type of branch with condition, what condition, and where to branch, right? So naturally all these informations are packed in the instruction only, right? And only source of the availability of this information is the instruction register. So it is perfectly right about the instruction register. But only thing is, your IR is not going to have only the location, right, from where you are supposed to branch out. Your instruction register will be having all the information, including whether it's branch instruction or not, and what type of branch instruction it is, and what condition it has. All these informations are available. That means only part of your instruction register data is having the information of the branch out location. Remaining part of the data will be holding the information of what instruction it is and its particulars, right? So this you might have learned in your instruction format. You learned for your controller or processor. Different instruction formats you might have learned for each type of instruction, how the format of the instruction is changing. Okay, so here what we do is, part of this, that is only the offset field of the IR instruction register we require. right? Not the complete, if it's a 32-bit instruction, we won't take all the 32-bit, because in that 32-bit, maybe 5 or 6 bits used for representing what instruction it is, and maybe next few bits used for representing the condition, if there is any, right? Like that, it will be, the complete 32-bit will be divided, right? That's what you are learning in your instruction format. You should have learned, right? So only part of the instruction will be having the offset, right? That is from the current location, how many location it should move on, right? In any direction, right? How many instruction it should, or how many locations it should move on in the memory, program memory, for executing the next instruction. Okay, that is what we call here as L1. And when we give it as label only. But when it is stored in the program memory, all are getting replaced with ones and zeros only. Okay, so the offset field will be identified by the assembler or compiler, whatever you are using, right? And mostly in case of a controller, you will be using the IDEs, the development environment, and there the location will be replaced from if this is some 5th location in the program memory, and if this is some 11th location in the program memory, it will say that from here it has to branch out to 6 locations, right, to execute the next instruction. So that's what we call it as the offset field. So that offset field alone will be given out, right? And here we already have yn loaded with the updated value of program counter as soon as we increment. This whole purpose of this is for this case only. Okay, and when we realize that it's not branch instruction and it's some other instruction where the program counter value is not required, then we replace it with the data in the 4th cycle. But here, since it's a branch instruction, yn is required. Okay, so yn will be there with the updated value of the program counter. So then when we take the offset field from the IR, we simply add and then Zn, the updated value loaded in Zn. Whether with this the operation over, can I give end? The updated value is available in Zn, whether the operation over or not.
We have to update the program counter.
Absolutely, we have to update the program counter value. Only then the next instruction execution will be from the location where it's supposed to jump. Otherwise, it will be the consecutive execution. Okay, so in the next clock cycle, we enable Z out and then PP in. Once we loaded the program counter, then we end the operation. Okay, so these 2 clock cycles only are required. Only 2 clock cycles required to complete the execution, right? And if you see in the previous instruction, some 7 or 8 clock cycles required to complete the instruction cycle. But when it comes to this, it requires only 5 clock cycles to complete the execution, right? So depends on the instructions, the number of clock cycles required for completing will also be changing, right? So when we naturally we replace the program counter value to accommodate the branching, and for that we add the offset value with the available program counter value, and we the program counter value changed. Okay. Now in this there is a small glitch, that is already your program counter value is updated by one location, right? Here we are selecting 4 and then adding the constant 4 selected and then add, and then the updated value is what is there in the program counter. So that means if the offset is some 6 locations, 1 is already added, right? It has to go on only 5 more locations. If you add 6 instead of 5 more locations, instead of it comes to n1, it will go to the next instruction, which is n+1. Okay, so we have to ensure that this correction takes place, If we are incrementing the value well in advance, then we also have to ensure that this correction takes place. That means if we have already incremented program counter value, and if we are going to add the offset value, then instead of the offset value x, we may have to add offset value x minus 1. Okay, only then it goes to, from 5 it goes to the location 11, because already our program counter will be showing having value 6 after the fetch of this 5th instruction, right? And here in this case offset is 6. So if you add 6 instead of going to the 11th location, program counter will be pointing the 12th location. Okay. So given here, where if your branch location is 1050 and your program counter is pointing having 1000, then you are supposed to only increment 49 instead of 50, because during the process already it might be increased and having the value of 1001 instead of 1000. Right? Clear with this? Just
Yes,
take a minute to understand. And not clear with any of this, let me know. Understood? Can we go to the next, or you need some more time to go through it?
We can go to the next.
Okay, fine. So this is the case where no condition is required at all, right? Simply looking at the instruction and direct branch, right? But most of the case it won't be direct branch, and there is also the so I mean also the field that if you are using unconditional branching, that means your coding is not properly structured, right? If it's a properly structured coding, then the unconditional branching will never occur. Okay, it will be a branch with condition only, right? And if you have some minimum experience in programming, you will be able to understand better of what I'm saying. Okay, so now this is for unconditional branching. Now when condition is there, how this 4 and 5th clock cycle steps changes is what we are going to see next. Okay, so this is a sequence with condition, right? For any instruction, invariable of what the type of instruction is, first 3 steps are going to be the same. Okay, now when it comes to the 5th step, naturally the address will be, offset will be taken from the instruction register and added, right? But here we say that it depends on the condition, right? So based on whether it should branch out or not will be decided based on the condition. For example, I'm saying if branch out if carry is set. Example I'm saying, right? The instruction, exact instruction you refer depends on what controller and what processor you are using. For branch if carry flag is set is what I'm specifying here, right? So in this case, the address updated value will be generated, but whether it's supposed to be loaded in the program counter or not will be decided based on whether carry flag value is set or not. Only the value, updated value, should be loaded in the program counter only when the carry flag is set due to the previous operation, arithmetic operation. Mostly for logical operation, carry flag won't be set. Okay. So if the carry flag is not set, then you don't want to branch out. You want to continue with the regular execution, that is going to the next instruction. Okay. So for example, if this is some nth instruction, right? If there is no condition satisfied, it's supposed to go to the n plus 1 instruction, and if condition is satisfied, then it has to go to the location L1, where it may be after some 4 or 5 instructions. In that case, this will be some n plus 6th instruction. Okay. So if condition is not satisfied, then it will be continuing with the same program counter value without updating it with the offset field. The regular updation will be there, just one increment, and it will continue with that one increment. If the condition is satisfied, then the updated program counter value will be with the offset value, and it will come and execute the n plus 6th instruction. Okay. So updation will happen as such, right? Offset field of IR out will be enabled, and it will be added with the yin value, which is the incremented value of the program counter, and then loaded in Zn. Okay. So what changes next is whether the value available in Zn loaded to the program counter or not. That depends on whether the condition is satisfied or not. Okay. So here, if for example, if the condition I am checking is n equal to 0, right? Condition is not, I am checking condition n equal to 1, right? And condition is not satisfied when it is 0. Then you straight away end, right? Because my condition is when n equal to 1, I have to branch out. Okay, but here the current scenario is n equal to 0. That means the condition is not met. Then you end the process. Okay, rather than n equal to 0, if n is equal to 1, then it goes to the next clock cycle, that is Z out, right? PC in, and then end. So in this case, the PC value will be updated with the branch out address, right? And in this case, the PC value will be updated only with the n plus 1 address, right? So either it will execute the instruction n plus 1 or it will execute the instruction n plus 6, depends on whether it is set or not, whatever the condition we check here. So when we give end here, that means it stops. Naturally, the new address will be generated for getting the next instruction, right? And execution will continue with the next instruction. That means this instruction is execution has been completed without updating the program counter. So naturally, the program counter will continue the sequential execution. Okay. Just take a minute to go through it, and have some doubt, you raise it. So n equal to 0 when condition it will go to the next clock pulse only when condition is satisfied. If condition is not satisfied, then it will end the execution phase there itself. Okay. Clear with this? Or have any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So next is the multiple bus organization, which we will discuss in detail tomorrow. But I just give you the overall flow that till now whatever we discussed, right? I go to that particular slide, right, where you can see that it's having only a single bus for entire process flow, right? Entire data supposed to be transferred only to this single processor bus, okay? And because of this, we will have a lot of restrictions, like even if both values are available at the same time, we cannot bring into the ALU directly, right? Even for the example of R1, R2, R3 addition, we first bring in one value to one input and then bring in another value to another input of the ALU. Only then we continue with the, we can be able to carry out with the addition operation, right? So even if the data is readily available, in some cases where you may have to depend on the memory or input device, naturally they will be time consuming. In the meantime, you can bring in the data available. But even if the data is available, the single bus structure slows down the operation and incurs a lot of time in execution. Okay. So to overcome this, the easiest possible solution is going through the multiple bus organization, right? Where in multi-bus organization, what you see here is 3 bus. Okay, one is bus A, another is bus B, and another is bus C, right? And you can see that all the registers available in the processor are getting connected only in one direction with each of the bus, right? In the previous case, if you see, the processor bus gets connected to the register in both the direction, okay? But here if you take, only one direction is connected, right? And the other direction cannot be connected to this bus, okay? For example, in case of program counter, it can be passed on only through B bus, right? And same way, you want to store some updated value in the program counter, that you have to send it only through C bus. You cannot send it through the same B bus because this is not bidirectional. You can see that there is no arrow mark on the other side. It's all unidirectional connections. Okay. Same way, in case of an instruction register to load the information, you have to load it only through bus C, right? Same way, MDR and MAR also, you have to load it only through bus C, right? Value from MDR, you can take it through bus A or B, but the value you want to load it in MDR, you have to take it only through bus C, right? And there is no connection directly to the instruction register, right? So even if you get the MDR, once you load the value in the program counter address in the MAR register, the value available in MDR cannot be directly connected through to the instruction register, right? It has to go through the ALU, right? And through ALU only it can be connected to the instruction register. Okay. So some flow control and direction controls are there, but since it is multiple bus, more than one data can be transferred from one place to the other place, right? And we will discuss the data flow, and also we see how it effectively reduces the number of time required for the execution of the same instruction what we discussed earlier. All this we will discuss in the next session. Okay. Now you have any doubt, you can clarify, otherwise we can discuss.